Hey everybody! So at the time of filming this video, it was 5 weeks ago that I had my cochlear implant surgery. And so I just thought I would recap that experience for you and give you some tips as far as things that I discovered that I wish I would have known that I didn't see on any groups or anything, some little tiny hacks I discovered that hopefully will be helpful for you. So let's talk about the actual surgery day. And I know people had joked on, groups that I'm a part of that that's the easiest part of this entire experience. And honestly, it really was. My surgery was about an hour and a half. That's the total time I was back there. And honestly, it would have been shorter, but they found a hole in my eardrum that still hadn't healed from a previous intratympanic injection that I did for vertigo. So my doctor patched that up. Now, I'm going to describe a little bit of what they did in the surgery. And so if you're squeamish, maybe skip ahead to the next chapter. But if you're going to have the surgery, I think it's important to kind of consider it beforehand so that you kind of understand your recovery a little bit better. So they actually, made an incision that runs the length of my ear on the back of my ear, like right where the crease is where your ear meets the rest of your head. There was an incision that ran the entire length of my ear. And my husband and I were thinking about that when we got home that night. And this is the kind of gross part, but it's like, wow, that's the only incision they made, which means they had to use that one incision to, put the electrode array in my inner ear. But then also that cable has to go back, and they have to also put the actual implant in my head here. And they did all that with that one incision. And that's where we were like a little bit freaked out. So I'm like, no wonder I'm a little sore. Now, my pain wasn't too bad. I mean, they had me on painkillers when I was leaving the hospital. But once I got home, they said, if you can really just stick to over-the-counter, Tylenol, do. And I did. There were probably a couple of times when I probably could have taken the actual painkillers, and I just didn't want to. So the pain wasn't too bad. I mean, I did have a very kind of deep ache in my ear and around my ear. I'd say probably for a good 7 days. And I was a little bit foggy for the first 10. I mean, if you can get 2 weeks off of this surgery, it's probably best. Could you do it in a week? Yeah. Could you go back to work the next day? You could. I mean, the only reason I say that is I remember reading on some Facebook group that some person was like, I went back to work the next day. I'm like, how? Yeah, you could do it, but you probably wouldn't get much work done. So my recovery wasn't too bad. But I will tell you, I'm gonna tell you of a few things here that really helped me that I wish somebody had told me that I kind of figured out after the fact. So I'm gonna pass these things on to you. Honestly, the first most valuable thing that I figured out was one-sided reading glasses. If you need readers, like I have prescription readers, if you need readers, you have to think about that because that incision that runs along your ear, you don't want anything to touch that, especially while it's healing. Now, I had dissolvable stitches, as most of you probably will, but I still didn't want anything touching that area because it was super sensitive and it was kind of hurting my head. So honestly, for the first 3 weeks, I used one-sided glasses. Yes, you could just unscrew one of the arms. I'm too impatient for that, so I just found a cheap pair of readers at the drugstore and just broke off an arm, and I was just wearing one-sided glasses, which, yes, fell off my face quite a lot, but it was super valuable because I could not wear my regular readers. It was too painful. So that's the first big hint I'll give you as far as things that helped me. The next thing that really helped is this particular neck pillow, and I'm going to put a picture of it right here. No, they're not paying me. Yes, it's a little bit pricey, but I'm going to tell you why I have found this to be really helpful, and I'm actually still sleeping with it 5 weeks out. So for the last 5 weeks, I've been sleeping pretty much on my back. It's a long story. I can't sleep on my right side because I had shoulder surgery several years ago, and I still can't really bend my arm well over there. And I'm not totally comfortable sleeping on my implant side yet, although I'm starting to do that a little bit, but it's been 5 weeks. But right after surgery, you're going to want to probably sleep pretty much propped up. And so I didn't want everybody was saying get a regular travel pillow. I didn't want that because travel pillows can be pretty thick, and I didn't want anything touching my implant ear because when you're just right out of surgery, if anything barely touches it or bumps it, it hurts. So I found this particular pillow that detaches in the middle, and I would just kind of wrap one arm of it under my chin so that my head couldn't go to the side and I could just kind of sleep up without the other half of the pillow touching that area. And I found that to be really helpful. In fact, I'm still kind of sleeping that way. So that's the second thing is if you can find a travel pillow that either detaches in the middle or, I mean, I guess, gosh, you could even like wrap up a towel or something if you don't want to spend any money. But the full-on travel pillow, I knew it was going to bug me because it was going to touch that side. I don't know, maybe you'll be fine with it. The third thing is definitely have soft foods ready to go. Honestly, I'm still having trouble fully opening my jaw all the way. Because, that whole area where your jaw meets right here, it's right next to your ear, which is where they operated, and it's going to be really swollen. Honestly, my ear is still swollen. Right after surgery, my ear was sticking straight outside my head, just like Gollum, and it's still kind of sticking out a little bit. I don't know if you can see. It's healing, but it's still kind of sticking out a little bit. All that to say is for the first couple weeks, definitely the first week I needed soft foods a lot more than I expected. So I had things on hand like mashed potatoes, and it was a great excuse to eat ice cream because, you are intubated and my throat was a little sore. So I loved that. That's another big thing that really helped me. And honestly, even going into week 2, I was still having trouble, eating a sandwich where I had to open my mouth wide or crunching on something, hard or chewy was still a little bit difficult. And, there's some maintenance things, like I actually go back to the doctor here in a couple weeks to get the rest of the packing out of my ear. He wanted to leave it in to make sure everything really healed. So I still can't get my ear wet, so I have to do the whole Vaseline on the cotton ball shoved in my ear anytime I want to, get my head wet to wash my hair. It's kind of a pain, but it's whatever. So I'm sure some of you are wondering, how did the surgery affect my Meniere's disease? I mean, particularly things like vertigo and tinnitus, which I have to deal with as a result of my Meniere's disease. I'm really thankful that the surgery did not cause any super bad, aggressive vertigo attacks right after surgery. I'm really thankful because my doctor told me that there are some people that definitely experience bad vertigo after the surgery. So the surgery didn't add any extra crazy vertigo experiences, but my normal vertigo experiences, unfortunately, are still there. I had a bad cold a couple weeks ago, and for a good week, I had really bad vertigo. I hit a new record of 4 attacks in one day. They were small attacks, but it was a lot. So my, my Meniere's disease and my vertigo is still a thing. Now, I know some of you are wondering, how did the surgery affect my tinnitus or tinnitus, if you are a doctor? When you get a cochlear implant, you are going to be hearing interesting sounds. Now, right after surgery, I was getting lots of really, really loud rings in that ear. They would surge and they would come and go, and they would be very, very loud. Now, that only lasted a few days for me, and then all that kind of died down. The only new sound that the surgery has kind of installed for me is a new little 24/7 sound that sounds like this, and I will play an excerpt here. I tried to recreate it in Ableton Live. Here's what it sounds like. Now, it's not that loud. It's very, very quiet, and most of the time I don't know it's there unless it's at night and my CI is off and it's just me in silence, and I can kind of hear it going. But that's a new little sound. I mean, the thing is, you're going to hear lots of bleeps and bloops and weird things and popping noises. Even with your processor off of your head, you still hear weird noises. Now, I do have that, my old trusty, there are 2 old trusty things that are still there after surgery. I still have that pulsatile tinnitus where you hear that whooshing sound of your pulse, although now it's more of an electronic chime, and it's not always there. So that one's interesting. And then the other one that's still there is my little wandering shark drone. I mentioned this before. It's like someone's playing Jaws on a little old organ. And it kind of starts up here and then it goes down here, but it just keeps wandering around and playing the Jaws theme. That is 16 months now, 24/7, never stops. Again, it's not too loud, but it hasn't changed. Overall, my surgery experience and my recovery experience was really positive. I didn't have any really bad experiences or anything bad that happened. I will tell you, the one weird thing to just get ready for is it was very weird to feel the bump on my head where the implant is. I wasn't prepared for it. I mean, I knew I was getting an implant, but when I felt it for the first time, I was a little bit freaked out. The bump itself was bigger than I thought it would be. And so my first freak out temptation was, oh my gosh, is my body rejecting the implant? And it's not, it wasn't, it just felt weird. So that's something to be prepared for. Now, 2 weeks later, I had my activation, and it depends. Some people, they have to wait a month for activation. I've heard some people have only had to wait a week. I think it's different for age and stage and doctor. I had my surgery at Vanderbilt in Nashville, and we waited 2 weeks, and then I went back and got the external hardware, and then they turned it on. Now, I'm going to do a different video to talk about that, but I will at least show you here now. What's cool is, I'm wearing it, and you can't even really tell I'm wearing it, which I think is kind of cool. So I'll take it off here. So here it is. And right now I don't have the T-mic on. They were going to wait to put that on until my activation. They said that some people actually miss out on some frequencies in their experience if they wear this little T-mic too soon. And then let's see if I can put it on without a mirror. I'm not really good at it yet. Just latch it on right here. And then I just kind of wait until I find the sweet spot. And it just kind of latches on, and I know it's working or it's latched in the correct place because I start hearing. So there it is, and you can't even tell, right? You can't even really tell it's there, which I think is cool. Again, I'll talk more about the activation process and the magnets and the magnet choice and all that stuff in the next video. So how am I 5 weeks out? I'm doing pretty great. Honestly, I'm super thankful that I can hear and communicate better. And I can't wait to tell you more about that in the next video, but I 100% have no regrets of doing this surgery. I say that, right after surgery when you're in pain and you have this weird sensation of this new hardware being in your body, I did have a moment where it's like, what have I done to myself? And that's pretty normal after a surgery like that, right? I mean, it is a big deal. You're having hardware installed in your head, in your ear. I will tell you, it actually took me a few weeks to get used to the feel of having that electrode array shoved in my inner ear. I swear I could kind of feel it the first, few weeks. Of course, I have packing in there too, packing material. But, overall, I'm really super thankful that I'm super thankful for this technology. It's amazing. I have zero regrets. It doesn't solve everything. It doesn't make life perfect, but it has already really been a complete game changer for me. And so if you are thinking about the surgery, if you're scared about the surgery, that's totally normal. And, there were moments where I was scared or worried about, oh my gosh, is this going to heal okay? And all those things. And those things are normal to feel. Last bit of parting advice I will give you that I think is the most important decision I made. Please, oh please, just hit snooze on all the cochlear implant social media groups as you lead up to surgery. Understand that on those pages, people are posting extremes, right? Really good stories, really bad stories. And I didn't want to read about any implant failures or any infections or anything crazy leading up to my surgery. I was already nervous enough. I didn't want to look at that. And honestly, I still kind of snooze those groups. I go to them when I need information or want to search for something, but even then I just search in the search bar. I don't scroll and see everything. So if your surgery is, on deck, I encourage you to consider not looking at those groups for a while and just focus on your own journey. So talk to me in the comments. I know some of you have said your surgery is scheduled, or some of you are thinking about this. I am just newly on the other side of it, but I just want to hear where you're at and how you're doing. So talk to me in the comments.